Julia Bue-Said, CEO of Advantage Travel Partnership, the UK's largest group of independent leisure and business travel agent experts. Julia, welcome back to the programme. I'm sorry that we're talking again, only because it generally means bad news for you. So should we all be holidaying at home now then? And what does that message mean for the companies that you represent?
Yes, good afternoon, Mariella. Lovely to see you on this beautiful sunny day. Yeah, it's a really tough time, and as you quite rightly pointed out, the industry is reeling from 12 months, even more now, of essentially being virtually shut down. So from a business perspective, the news of Portugal, as you say, the last remaining country, or the only actually remaining, arguably was one of our main selling destinations. Now that's gone into amber, really leaves the industry in complete despair. It really does. So it's a really difficult months ahead, really difficult 12 months it's been. But actually for the industry, we're nowhere near able to even see any recovery of sorts. So an exciting time for all the businesses that I represent and the wider travelling with that as well.
Julia, and the hospitality industry have been calling for a hospitality czar, because of the terrible impact that the last year has had on their business. Is government talking directly to the travel industry and at least trying to negate, any of the damage that's going on as a result of all this chopping and changing?
Yeah, no, it's not at all. And, one of the things that we've been calling out for many, many months now is, the government to recognise the specific challenges the industry faces. When you have businesses that are trying to sell and all they can sell is international travel, holidays or trips abroad to reunite friends and family and businesses. When you essentially are being told that the product you have to sell is illegal or it's banned, shouldn't do it, can't do it, it leaves businesses in a really difficult state. So we have been calling for sector-specific support. We have been calling for tailored support because of the nuances around the sector that we're in. And unfortunately, we haven't seen it. Still don't see it. And as I say, we're facing a gruelling few weeks ahead as we approach a really critical time for those that are selling summer holidays.
So, Julia, do you get the news that a country's going on the amber list or that, people shouldn't travel, as George Eustace said this morning? Do you get that news exactly at the same time as the rest of us?
We do. So there is absolutely no warning whatsoever. We start to hear the leaks, but through the media, so not through any formal channels. So if you can imagine what that ends up looking like, it ends up looking like what we've all seen reported in the media this, today and yesterday and the weekend when, poor travellers are being trying to get back from overseas. Airlines, thankfully, have done as best as they can to bring out extra flights to Faro, Lisbon and Porto to bring passengers back. Because of government policy. So it puts everybody in a really difficult time. You cannot plan. You cannot plan to help consumers, help travellers when you're given no notification whatsoever.
I know you suggested in a tweet this morning that this kind of conversation, on the part of the government, but George Eustace, for example, is scaremongering. But isn't the Environment Secretary just reflecting sensible advice given the uncertainty of the virus out there?
But I don't actually. I really don't. I mean, the experience that we're having, and I think the sentiment we're building is, and I completely understand how politics operates, and it's about popularism and following the public sentiment. But actually, that has to go hand in hand with supporting businesses who are on the brink of surviving. It really does. We cannot expect industries, whether that's travel in particular here, but others as well, that are unable to trade their way through a crisis. And we're not talking about the act of going on holiday here. We're actually talking about 1 million people across different parts of the sector that are struggling to put food on the table, that are struggling to keep their businesses. I know members that have had to sell their houses, go back to parents. We're talking really times. So every time we hear a minister talking about, you should be going on holiday, I'm going to be staying in the UK. Well, that's great. And I hope they have a lovely holiday. But for us, we see it completely differently. And actually, the other point, we're not having and seeing, having access to really transparent data. So, when, a lot of our CEOs in the airline world and the aviation sector all come together and say, well, look, you need to present the data, demonstrates what you're basing your decisions on. When we are seeing, great vaccine deployment and, 50% of our adult population fully vaccinated now, where is the success of that? When the rest of Europe is slowly opening up on the basis of the vaccine rollout, low-risk destinations. Why are we not? What is it that our counterparts in other countries are seeing that either our government wants us to see, or we're not seeing? So there's lots. It's a complex scenario, Mariella, and lots of different conversations around the business angle, the holiday angle, what that means for consumers and businesses. But from our perspective, we're at a very difficult crossroads now, and unless the government really steps up and works with the industry, it's going to be catastrophic, to be completely honest.
And I suppose that the people that rarely get mentioned as well are the people who have to travel for business. I mean, there's so many companies that are dependent on overseas travel for their businesses. There are people who've got family in other parts of the world who haven't been able to see each other. It's not just about holidays, is it? Because in a way, holidays makes it sound frivolous.
Absolutely right. Absolutely. But it becomes a very judgmental tone, doesn't it, when we talk about holidays? But you're absolutely right. Behind every travel plan. I mean, from the UK in 2019, there were 60 million overseas trips. A significant portion of those are for business travel. Essential travel's continued, and that has happened with different sectors. But yeah, we've got families apart, haven't seen each other for 18 months. There are many reasons why people wish or have to travel, and that's not been allowed to happen. Many industries rely on business travel, media, entertainment. I mean, so it's affected a huge part of the economy and business.
And just finally, I mean, what is your advice to people who desperately like to go abroad this summer, or who desperately want to go abroad full stop?
Yeah, my advice would be double check every term and condition of anything you're looking to book. It depends on what you're looking to book and where clearly you're looking to go. But the best scenario, the best advice I can give is book through a human travel agent, because things are so complex. They will really guide you through everything you need to know. You need to understand what the in-destination requirements are, but then you also need to understand what the UK government's light listings are. And as we see in Portugal, what you don't really want to be doing is trying to navigate that yourself. So book through a human travel agent, make sure terms and conditions. Lots of flexible terms out there. Airlines, a lot of airlines doing a great job if you package to make sure that you can get the option to cancel, refund, etc. So yeah, terms and flexibility, human travel agent, really important.
Julia Bue-Said, thank you so much for joining me here on Times Radio.